So welcome to Resto Designs, guys. So welcome back to Project Joker.
All right, guys, so we had the little intro and we're back on Project Joker. But also, before we get into that video, this is the stuff that I've got going up on my website this week. And like I said in my previous video, I've got loads of stuff here in the workshop. I've shrunk down Resto Designs and obviously improved the workshop massively. It's a new build and it's still in the process of being built. But yeah, I've got loads of stuff. I'm a bit of a hoarder and you guys could help me out and also grab yourselves a bargain because I've got so much stuff to put up for sale. So yeah, this is the section of what's going up over this weekend. If I get a chance, hopefully on Sunday, the latest, by the time the video is out, most of this stuff will actually be back up on sale. So I've got a GTD airbox. These are actually sold really, really well. I've sold about 5 or 6 of these. I've got another one coming in stock. I've got a Mark 2 glove box with a working key in really good condition. A couple of suspension top mount covers, also again in really good condition. Recaro lifters for the seat lifters. Got a couple of two pairs of those. These are actually for the 16 valves. They hold the heat shield at the back. These are super rare to get hold of. Yeah, I've got 2 good ones here. Interior lights, these ones are slightly different. These are for non-sunroof cars, and they've got this like little circuit board on here. And the reason for that is they've got a delay. I think it's like a 15 or 20-second delay. When you open the door, light comes on. When you close the door, it still stays on, and then it slowly dims after about 10 to 20 seconds. Also got a 3.5 radio that illuminates in red. So if you guys are doing in your Mark III Golfs, if you're kind of going for the 3.5 with the red switches and all the rest of it, you've got a nice OEM radio here with the code on it. Set of early GTD, there's the part number, working set of clocks. I don't actually know the mileage on them, unfortunately, sorry. Got some also Mark II power steering brackets. These are the 2 bits that that goes onto the block, and that kind of goes across there with a longer bolt, I think with a pump, and holds the pump in place, something like that. The part numbers are on there. I'll be selling these individually. Where's the part number? Don't know if you guys can see it on there. There's one, and there's the other one. But like I said, everything's going to be up on the website. The inner wing airbox cover. This is also a bracket for the O2A and O2J. So if you're doing a cable conversion in your Mark II or even in your Mark III, yeah, this is the bracket you need that goes onto the gearbox. Comes with the bolts as well. Also got another electric window kit. The other one sold straight away. It actually went to Spain. So yeah, I'm just gonna tidy up the wiring and felt tape it up before I put it up for sale. But yeah, that's a wiring for with the motors. You can actually convert them, put them into your original mirrors. This is gonna be a lot cheaper to post. So, you know, you can just use your original mirrors, especially if you've color coded them or something and they're in really good condition. You know, you can just literally gut out your original mirrors and fit these in. Comes with a switch as well. This is actually a left-hand drive switch, but I can offer this also with a right-hand drive switch because the switches, the orientation is different. I've got another electric window kit. So if you guys have got a Mark II and you want electric windows, this is basically plug and play, C2, but it also can be converted quite easily to C1. Yeah, and these are the bits that are going to be up for sale on the website. And the website is actually www.restodesigns.com. Please guys, check it out. There's loads of bits on there. There's also t-shirts and merch stuff up on there. Nothing really pushing Resto Designs, just some cool photos of like the clocks, 8 valve, 16 valve clocks, t-shirts, something that's pretty cool, I think, nondescript. Nothing pushing my brand, just some cool t-shirts.
So in today's video, I'm just gonna tie up a whole load of loose ends. And what do I mean by that? Well, there's still stuff to be done. So I've got the suspension on, but as you can see, look how low that is. There's no way that's even gonna roll out of here, let alone go on a trailer. So I'm gonna have to readjust that. The same with the front, but before I do the front, as you guys can see, this one's kind of towing in a little bit. And this one's towing out a hell of a lot. There's a few boxes here, and these are the loose ends I've got to do. So I've got to do the inner CV boots, the outer CV joints, longer steering arms. I don't really like that brake fluid bottle, so that's kind of a UK one. So I found a European one, squarer, with the takeoff already. Got to put the heat shield once I put the drive shafts on. Also here on the floor, unfortunately, didn't have the gasket at the time, the inlet manifold gasket, so I've got to drop the engine again, take the inlet manifold off, and actually get the gasket on, bolt that all up properly, and then do the injectors, the idle valve, and start kind of building this up here. So I should actually start by doing the inlet manifold, but that means dropping the beam down and removing some of the bolts that's holding it on, the inlet manifold, squeezing it in, blah, 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 blah. It's a Monday morning. I think I'm gonna work myself up to doing that, and I'm gonna do the easiest thing first, which is jack up the back and raise up the rear, because that's silly, silly low. And then move on to the front suspension, raise it up actually. I forgot to paint the inside of these top mounts. So I'm gonna paint them black as well, because you can actually see them. So I'm gonna remove all that, do the steering arms, extend them. And then while that's up in the air and that's kind of done, then I'll work my way up to doing the inlet manifold and then putting the drive shafts on. The front has been a bit of a mission. So I've had to basically dismantle it all again. That's the way it goes, because that was really stuck on there. And I mean, I should have changed it anyway. I should have realised, it didn't have any play in it, but I should have realised that it's shorter than it needs to be, especially with the wide track. It's not like I haven't done this before. So this is a slightly longer arm. I'm just gonna put some Loctite, tighten it up, get this side back together again. So that's both sides done now. And as you can see by this, look at that. Hopefully it'll focus in. Both of them were like that. It was really, really hard to get them off. So next up is going to be the wiper mechanism. I'm going to put that in there and also remove this UK right-hand drive brake bottle. It looks a bit odd here actually, and put a more in keeping left-hand drive bottle. It's actually a Mark IV with a Mark IV lid. I also got the wiring for it. So it all goes on. So that's what the bottle looks like. Looks a lot better, a bit more modern with this yellow style on there, but still kind of very OEM plus. I'm not going to be able to avoid it anymore, the inevitable, removing this and actually getting the gasket on. All right, so I don't know what I was afraid of. Sometimes we can make things up in our mind and they're actually a lot easier than we think they're going to be. Actually, didn't need to drop the front cross member or lower it down to actually get the manifold off. It was fine. I just kind of pushed it back, put all the bolts on for the inlet manifold on now, so that's all done. Also squeezed in there the fuel rail, that's all done. Clipped top, also did a 15 injector onto the rail. Connected up the fuel lines, that's all done. Also got some Mark III battery cables, so that's the positive, and the negative one is already done with those bits and pieces. So now I'm going through the box of bolts. Also, I can get on with the heat shield for the drive shafts, and also off camera, I've built up 2 drive shafts with new CVs, new CV boots on the inners, and they were all greased up and stuff. The inners don't really wear that much. The outers take most of the battering, and also these have to be the Mark III 5x100 ones because they're different to the normal 4x100 ones. So yeah, that's all built up, ready to go in there now. And that literally means once those are on, I've got brake pedal. Now that the bottle's in, I can also fill it up to the top again and actually bleed the clutch pedal. So I'll have a clutch pedal, brake pedal, and the suspension height should be all done. Steering lined up by eye or by string should be more or less okay. That kind of means those kind of loose ends are done. Now I've then got to actually do this heat shield, which I've cleaned, which goes around the back there, because like if you saw one of the previous videos, the exhaust manifold's really tight to the bulkhead. Maybe it's got 20mm gaps, so you're definitely gonna need to fit that onto there. But anyway, let me just get these boxes out of the way. And we'll do the short drive shaft first, which I think is the easiest one to do. All right, guys, so the ECU's on top of there. It looks pretty much the same, right? But I've actually done loads of little bits to this. Put the coolant pipes going on, done the knock sensor, the idle valve, wired this all up, the fuel rail, the fuel lines are done. All those kind of little bits around here. The vacuum, brake servo vacuum has been done. Accelerator cable's done, so we now have an accelerator cable, a clutch pedal, a brake pedal, and the gear selector. When you're doing a conversion like this, which is an engine, and you know the whole running gear as well, the main things I like to end up, the 4 main goals is gear selector, clutch, brake pedal, and accelerator pedal. So we've actually hit those targets today, which is pretty cool. Now, got the intake pipe here, and having a closer look at this, the strut brace, we've got a problem here. I saw already that this was no way gonna fit there. So I'm gonna have to actually remove the oil, the idle valve one, and just put like a little air filter on the end. This one, gonna have to cut it in the middle and then run a pipe, straight pipe, that's gonna come to my custom intake pipe, which I'm gonna have to make. I'm gonna get a Samco, it goes from 70 to 60, and then down in a metal pipe with another joiner here that goes onto the airbox. It's gonna be a few joiners, it is what it is, because there's no other workaround with this strut brace here. So sometimes these modifications, that's what needs to be done. All right, battery's on charge. Let's get the battery in here and do all my checks. So I've got the battery on charge it up. Now I've got my power probe in here, and we're going to test both pumps. This is running the early Mark II or all Mark II fuel pumps, which is one inside the tank and then one underneath the tank, which is like a swirl pot, so it gets kind of fed. The small one feeds the big one then pumps the higher pressure to the engine. The return comes back into that tank. When that tank gets full, it's then got a return from that tank that comes into the main fuel tank. So that's kind of always fed underneath there. That's how it works. Now what can happen is this inner tank one can go bad. The outer one then has to do twice its job. It needs to suck as well as push, and it gets noisy, warms up, and goes wrong. So here's a bit of a nugget of information. So I'm going to check this now. So I've got it wired in. I've got the wire in here because I obviously have to convert this from the C1 to C2. So I kind of disconnected it. So it's plugged. That's the plug that goes down underneath to feed the bigger pump. And then the main one's obviously just plugged. The main plug is plugged into here, into the small one, which is it's got 4 wires, 2 for the sender, and plus and 12 comes off the fuel pump relay to feed the pumps, both of them in the end. So now I'm going to put current to this one. And hopefully you'll be able to hear it. Hopefully, guys, you can hear that. Now, to make sure that both pumps are working, I'm going to disconnect the feed that goes to the lower pump. Right, so now I've only got 12 volts going to the small lift pump. The earth has come off. The earth is still connected, but that's not a good sign. I've got no power coming. If the circuit was complete, you would see this kind of being an earth. I'm putting 12 to it, and yep, that lift pump is as dead as a dodo. So we're going to need to order a lift pump before we can actually get this running. The battery's charged. To actually get the battery in place, and then let's power it up and see if everything's fine. Okay, so that's a good sign. Right, let's go turn the ignition key. So far so good. Just put the clocks rested on there. Turn the ignition on. Okay, cool. So lights, power, everything seems to be working. That's fine. That's all good. The rear lights should be working, hopefully. Yep, the rear lights are actually working as well. That's really cool. All right, so now I'm going to cycle through a few checks to make sure everything's all fine. So I'm going to check that we've got positive and negative here at the ECU, and also when I turn the ignition on, then the positive comes on. So now these two bottom ones, one should be an earth, which it is, and that one should be a positive. Now I'm going to turn the ignition on, and that should give me a 12. That's perfect. Earth. I should be able to turn the ignition off. See if I can hold it with one hand. Perfect. Alright, so that's safe now to plug the ECU in. But before I plug the ECU in, I'm going to disconnect literally all the plugs from it and actually check them individually with them off. So literally, that is the air mass sensor, TPS throttle position sensor, the idle valve, the fifth injector, as well as the injector rail, and then also the Hall sensor on the distributor. And that's it, there's no crank sensor on this 2E. And now I'm going to check with my voltmeter, oh, and the coil as well. That's it, so the coil's done as well. So now with my voltmeter, I'm going to check the voltages. I'm going to plug the ECU in with all the plugs off. So with all the plugs off, you're definitely not going to get a short because there's no shorting out of anything. So yep, I'm going to be able to check now all the voltages that should be having 5s and 12s where they should be. So it's going to start off with the Hall sensor, should be 12 volts more or less. Yep, perfect. So that can get plugged in. I'm not sure the fifth injector will actually get a current until it's actually running. Until you're cranking, yeah, which is right. So the idle valve should be 12. Which it is. Let me just put it the right way around because it's actually that way around. Yep, so that's 12. So that can, now when I plug this in, it should be buzzing. Yep, it is buzzing. Next, we're going to go into the fuel rail. This probably won't see a 12 until it's actually seeing a cranking signal. But let me just check it anyway. Yep, that's fine. That can get plugged in. And let me check the coil. We should have 12 here. And hold on. Yep, so we've got, there we go, 12 at the coil, so that gets plugged in as well. So now we'll check the throttle position sensor, which should be 5 volts. Hold on, we've got a signal. Yes, which it is, 4.9, that can get plugged in as well. And then we've got the air mass meter plug, which is between pin 1 and pin 4, is the 12 volts across there. Or sorry, 5 volts, I think it is. Yep, there you go, 5 volts. So that's literally all the tests. That's fine, plugged it all in. Now, unfortunately, so that's a really good sign that the idle valve is buzzing and all the connectors have seen the right voltages or non-voltages with the car not running. That's a very, very good sign. There's no burning smells coming from the ECU. There's no shorts with the extensions that I've done and moving bits around. So it's all worked out perfectly, it seems. Now, unfortunately, guys, I'm not going to get this to crank today because I need to sort this out. The fuel pump has actually arrived sooner than I thought, so I've got to do the in-tank fuel pump, as well as I've actually got to run the wiring and splice it into the fuse box from C1 to C2, so I need to do that as well. As well as this issue here with the intake pipe. I can't actually mount the intake pipe at all. So it's not going to be a case of run it in. It won't run without the air mass meter. So I'm going to have to order some bits and make up some pipes and do some bits. So that's going to have to be in the next episode where we'll get this first running, hopefully fingers crossed, first fired up and kind of finishing it off. And then that's it. We're literally on the home straight at that point. Guys, thanks for watching. Please check out the website. There's loads of stuff on there like you saw at the beginning of the video. I've got loads of bits on there for sale, as well as some cool t-shirts as well. www.restodesigns.com. Really simple to remember, guys. Thank you for watching. Subscribe. Have a great summer, guys. See you later.